BBOR Black Box Online Radio, May 18th, 2017. Who are the Libertarians going to put up for president in 2020? The election is a little far away, but it's still always nice to look ahead. Who are the Libertarians going to put up in 2020? The last presidential election was kind of sad for the Libertarian Party, and it was almost a tragedy. Everyone was expecting that they were going to pull 5%, get some public funding. Everyone also thought that Donald Trump was going to lose, and that the Libertarians would have a better chance at rising as a serious political contender against the Democrats during the next presidential election. However, things didn't happen like that. Trump won. And now, the Libertarians are going to have to start all over. It's back to the drawing board for the Libertarian Party. Who do the Libertarians have? First, I would like to say that I hope the Libertarians stay far away from John McAfee. Some people were saying during the last presidential debate and during the last election in its entirety, they should have picked John McAfee over Gary Johnson. John McAfee is, of course, the former software programmer, but he has a very bad history when it comes to being accused of statutory rape, bizarre behavior, which he openly brags about. He was kicked out of certain Central American countries for various crimes, and it's just things like that would be so heavily exploited that I think it would draw a very negative connotation to the party. And that's not really what the Libertarians are looking for right now. They need somebody that can give them 5% in a general election so that they will qualify for public funding and actually have, a decent chance in the future of building a stronger party. So who do the Libertarians have, if not John McAfee? Gary Johnson is done. I think he is done. I don't think he was a strong choice to begin with. On the surface, he appeared like a very likable, a very sort of well-rounded Libertarian candidate, but as we saw on the campaign trail, once he got into the sort of details about his personal views, he really didn't have a very libertarian position. It was more just like, other than supporting marijuana, he wasn't really a libertarian, and he didn't uphold any of their other values. So Gary Johnson's done. However, his running mate from the last election, Bill Weld, has been getting a lot of attention. Will Bill Weld be the nominee for the Libertarians in the 2020 presidential election? He is a former governor of Massachusetts. He is very articulate. He is very intelligent. And everyone was saying during the last election, Bill Weld should have been on top of the ticket. He should have been the one running for president. Gary Johnson should have been running as the vice presidential nominee. The things that would go against Bill Weld would be, during the last election, he was practically campaigning for Hillary Clinton. And it would be sort of like, they would ask him, "What do you think about Hillary Clinton?" And he would tell the truth. I know her personally. We shared an office 40 years ago. We worked together. I had a good experience with her. Now, that is his viewpoint. That is what he feels. He is telling the truth about his own personal feelings, and he has the right to do that. However, they really needed somebody who would have gone after her. They needed someone who would have tried to expose her for all the sort of corruption, political backstabbing, alleged war crimes. There were so many different angles that they could have gone after their political opponent with. They really needed someone who was not going to play the friend card. Again, his feelings are his feelings, his viewpoint is his viewpoint, but that turned out to be not the best political move for the Libertarians. However, Hillary most likely will not be running in 2020. Most likely, who knows, but most likely. So, Bill Weld could be a serious contender. The other one that's been getting a lot of attention is a guy named Rand Paul. That's right. There has been talk online that Rand Paul is going to run on the Libertarian ticket for president. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Rand Paul has a very large support base. He has much more support than a guy like Bill Weld, and maybe he could draw a lot of attention to the Libertarian Party. However, what people really notice is Rand Paul is not Ron Paul. He is way more onto the Republican side, which goes without saying. He's a Republican senator from Kentucky. But he does not have the same sort of libertarian integrity that his father does. And he's also been very cozy with the other Republican politicians. He campaigned so hard for Mitt Romney in 2012, and that didn't work. He was involved in things like the government shutdown in, 2011 or 2012, which also was, a disaster. And Rand Paul is a very 50-50 kind of candidate. When you watch a lot of his speeches, you find that you agree with 85% of what he's saying, and 15% you're really not that interested in, or it just sounds kind of off. However, he is very popular. Rand Paul has the popularity that might be able to get the Libertarians more than 5% in a general election. Could Bill Weld do that? Maybe. Maybe, because, he is a more well-known name now. People are going to remember him from the 2016 election. Bill Weld has much less of an edge. Rand Paul can actually get passionate during his interviews and during his speeches, but we will see. Could a guy like John McAfee do that? No, I don't believe so. I don't believe he could get 5% at a general election. People need to stay away from guys like him, and they probably should stay away from Gary Johnson, too. However, what do you think? Who should the Libertarians put up in 2020 as their presidential nominee? Who would be a good Libertarian candidate for president?